Hey, Michael Govier here, back for round two. Round two, fight. MJ Govier on Twitter, G-O-V as in Victor, I-E-R. Please follow me. I'd be happy to connect with you on anything related to fantasy football, fantasy baseball, anything fantasy really, but fantasy football and baseball are my focus. That's my specialty. And of course, follow the Triple Play Fantasy channel by subbing it and smash. They say smash? Smash that like button here on YouTube. Sub the channel, smash the like button. And of course, follow the Triple Play Fantasy Twitter handle at TripPlayFantasy. I want to thank you guys for the commentary, good or bad. Love it or leave it. You gotta love it either way. This is USA #1, right? And you guys were very reasonable, some kind, some people frustrated by my Ramondre Stevenson video. So it was my debut for the Triple Play podcast channel, and I'm so excited for that. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. This is number 2, so let's get at it. This one's about 5, count them 5 wide receiver debates. I'm going to give you 10 players overall. Each debate will have 2 players. It's your standard debate. This side versus this side. Do you want this one? This one. Pro versus con. Good versus evil. Top versus bottom. The debates rage on forever, and we will not solve anything here today, but we'll give you something to snack on, something to chew on here, and hopefully you'll make the right decisions when you finally sit down for your main draft, your home league draft, whatever your big draft is that you care about the most. It's got to be coming up at any moment here because we're officially in September. I love fall. I got my Detroit Lions, my Blacks jersey on. I love this jersey. Megatron, Hall of Famer. He loves weed. That's totally cool. But I'm a big proponent of Megatron. So I'm representing today. That's what I do. I'm in the Southeast Michigan area, Detroit. You know anything about it? Let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts here. But let's get to it. Let's cut the crap. So, we've got 2 elite wide receivers here. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I don't think you think you can go wrong either way. DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley. Both of these guys are from the school of the SEC. Mississippi, Alabama. 2 elite special receivers. They can hardly do no wrong. DK Metcalf is sexy as fuck. I mean, God, he is so damn fine. What a healthy-looking dude he is. And Calvin Ridley is blazing fast. He's a very special talent. But what do you do here? Does it really matter? If fantasy leagues come down to singular points, if it really comes down to those special moments where you're defined by 10 points or less, or a single point in a head-to-head week that will determine your championship or bust, then this does matter. And in my view, DK Metcalf might be the guy just by a hair. When it comes to touchdowns, both of these guys have never had a season with less than 7 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, 3 seasons, at least 7 touchdowns in each one. DK Metcalf, a little bit smaller sample size, but no less than 7 touchdowns in his seasons. So you've got 2 guys that are going to have a high floor, and that's what you love about these guys, and that's why their ADP is so damn high. You know it. I know it. So what are we talking about here? Russell Wilson is a very special quarterback, right? Matt Ryan is getting older. Even though Russell Wilson seems like he's been around for a while, he's still got plenty of life in them legs. The tank is full, and he is so in touch with his future, his presence. I mean, Russell Wilson is a very admirable guy. Matt Ryan is an old man. He's hanging on for dear life. So if you had to choose, who would you rather have, DK Metcalf or Calvin Ridley? What if I told you that Atlanta was 7th in wide receiver targets? 65% of their targets went to wide receivers last year, and 3rd most wide receiver targets overall in the entire league in 2020. Calvin Ridley had 143 of those targets. DK Metcalf had 129 of their targets. And Metcalf was 3rd overall in snaps at 980. 3rd overall in the NFL at wide receiver position, 980 snaps. Calvin Ridley had 822 snaps. That's a big gap. If you're looking for one thing that stands out from last year to kind of separate these two, that snap percentage is a big one. So 980 to 822 is a gulf. And when you're talking about singular points, those opportunities for DK Metcalf, who seems to be a very reliable, not an injury-prone dude. Calvin Ridley's running some injuries here and there. You know the story so far. So in the end, I'm going to take DK Metcalf here, and I think he has the potential. I think we all know he has the potential to finish as WR number 1, and you've probably seen a lot of tweets on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, just like me, at MJ Govier or Trip Play Fantasy. Calvin Ridley has been named by a few people I've seen in my feed as I scroll through, constantly looking for information, huffing it in. Give me more, I gotta have my information, my data, I gotta have it. Calvin Ridley has been named by a few people as the guy who will finish as the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy in 2021. So that's very possible too. I love Calvin Ridley, but give me DK Metcalf by just a hair. Tyler Lockett versus Amari Cooper. Now, I literally ran into this on Monday night. I was doing a draft with Matt Williams from The Athletic, NBC Sports Edge. He's a very well-known and respected fantasy sports analyst and a friend of mine. And we were doing a friends and family draft that he was running. And I ended up picking Amari Cooper, but I could have had Cooper or Lockett. And now I'm kind of regretting it because I thought about it. Would you rather have Russell Wilson, again, another Seattle wide receiver quarterback duo? Is there enough balls to go around in Seattle or what? Huh? Or would you rather have Dak Prescott, who is so talented and he's gotten a tremendous drive. He's a leader. Both these guys are great leaders, Wilson and Mr. Prescott. But Dak missed basically all of last year, and now he's got this issue with the shoulder, the rotator cuff. We don't know what the hell's going on. Do we? Or is it clear that he's going to be ready to let it fly in week 1 and be healthy the whole season? I don't know that. So when it comes to Cooper versus Lockett, I think Lockett has the edge here because I trust Russell Wilson. If we're starting at the quarterback position, I trust Wilson more than I trust Prescott. And I kind of regret not taking Lockett in that draft because one of these guys will be a difference maker. I think more so, I'm talking separation of points, GPP. More so than the previous discussion with Metcalf and Ridley. These guys could be league winners for sure because they're going to provide a difference based on your selection. And, Lockett had 132 targets last year, 944 snaps. Amari Cooper, 130 targets, 933 snaps. Both their targets and snaps were very, very tight. No difference there. But Lockett, 12 for 16 with 8 touchdowns in the red zone. 12 for 16 in his red zone receptions. That's pretty badass. 8 touchdowns. Amari Cooper, 6 for 16 in his red zone reception opportunities. That's a big difference right there. 12 for 16 is amazing. So that alone, Lockett's the better red zone target, and they both can fly down the field too, and both of their quarterbacks can throw them a nice ball. But I think the red zone situation here separates Lockett a little bit more. That's who I'm going with. Give me Tyler Lockett if it comes down to it in a draft going forward, not Amari Cooper. All right, we're moving deeper into the draft here, and this is Mecole Hardman versus Hollywood Marquise Brown. Now, I love both of these players. I drafted both heavy last year. Didn't work out so great, so I'm going to admit that freely. Coming clean. I'm opening up. I'm cleaning out my closet. I'm sorry, mama. Boo-doo-doo. I'm from Detroit, Eminem. I never meant to hurt you. But I'm cleaning out the closet, and I'm opening it up here. Mecole Hardman is very tantalizing because he plays in the Kansas City offense. And the Kansas City offense is very, very impressive, as you well know. I don't need to explain that. I'll stop there. Marquise Brown, though, is the guy who could come out ahead. I think people are expecting Hardman to take a jump this year now that Sammy Watkins is on Mr. Brown's team in Baltimore. But the truth is, there was a really, really nice fantasy season kind of left on the table in 2020 for Marquise Brown. Several times Lamar Jackson just missed him on some opportunities where he was open. And we're talking big-time plays, touchdown opportunities, plays of 40 yards or more. It's just missed several times. Some inaccurate throws, which were due to some pressure because the offensive line had some problems last year for Baltimore. So if those get straightened out, I really like Hollywood Brown here. And I love Mecole Hardman, and Kansas City offense speaks for itself, right? But if you look inside the numbers, Brown, 100 targets last year, Mecole Hardman, 62. Now, Brown had more opportunities because he was more of a starter than Mecole Hardman was. He was more down on the depth chart. Marquise Brown last year was 8 for 11 red zone reception opportunities to catches. That's a really nice number. I mean, Marquise Brown is a legit red zone threat. He really is. Much more so than we give him credit for, I think. Mecole Hardman was 3 for 4 himself, much smaller sample size, but he also held his own. And in the end, Brown gets 38% of the overall red zone attempts. All the passes thrown last year, 38% of them went to Marquise Brown. Now, I think Mark Andrews is assumed to be the main red zone target when you think about Baltimore's passing offense inside the 20. But Marquise Brown gets a lot of opportunity. If that stays the same at the very least and maybe increases a little bit, with the loss of J.K. Dobbins, I think Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, could take that next step forward that so many of us have been dying for him to take. I think it's easier to take Mecole Hardman here because the Kansas City offense is so badass. But I think you're going to do yourself a favor if you take Brown. Trust me on this one. Thank me later. Yell at me now if you want. But Marquise Brown over Mecole Hardman, if it comes down to it in draft situations, that's the call you want to make. And don't forget, that drop percentage for Hardman, I know, 62 snaps versus, or 62 targets versus 100 targets last year. 12% drop rate, going on 13% drop rate for Mecole Hardman last year. That's not good. 6% for Marquise Brown. That's a difference maker right there. Debate number 4 comes to 2 rookies. Now, I know we all want to say Terrace, but it's not Terrace. It's Terrace Marshall Jr. of the Carolina Panthers. Is it just me, or are other people feeling that? Because I've done it. I've been doing it way too many times. I always want to put the N in there when I'm typing, or if I type his name on Twitter and I'm doing a tweet about Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU, I want to put the N in there. It just feels better to me. It's no offense to you, Mr. Marshall Jr. You're an incredible human being, a hell of a player, and you got a bright future in the NFL. I just want that N to be in there, Terrace. But hey, that's never going to happen because that's who he is. You are who you are. Now, Rondale Moore from Purdue. I'm a Big Ten guy, went to University of Michigan. My team sucks. University of Michigan football team is god-awful. Basketball team's fun. But in the Big Ten, Rondale Moore was always a big deal. At Purdue, he made a bunch of big plays, and he's a gamer. Both of these guys are legit wide receivers, both drafted with the hopes of filling roles in their offenses with the eventual hope that they will take over and dominate their offense and be the number 1 studs on their teams in the not too distant future. So who do you take here? If you take a look under the hood with both these guys, think about the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray versus Sam Darnold. That's a no-brainer, right? I don't think we need to say anything else about that, right? But what about the depth chart? Now, Terrace Marshall Jr. is pretty solidly in the number 3 slot behind the 2 studs, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson in Carolina. Love both those guys, by the way. Really hope Sam Darnold can take off this year. But in Arizona, Larry Fitzgerald's sitting out. He's going to wait till the playoffs or something. He just kind of, he's got his arms back and he's kicking up his feet, and he's earned it. He deserves to relax. He's had a hell of a career. He's an incredible human being as well, not just a football player. I love Larry Fitzgerald, but he's out of the picture. But A.J. Green's there. The older statesman from Cincinnati has slid in. So you got Hopkins and Green, and you got Christian Kirk in the mix, Rondale Moore. Plus you got, you got this offense that is trying to take it to another level, be more consistent. So do they trust Rondale Moore, the rookie, in that situation? Or is Christian Kirk going to get a bulk there, though? Is he going to get a big bulk? This is what I'm concerned about. Last year, Carolina was second in the NFL with 71% of their targets going to wide receivers. That's outstanding. Now, it's the same coaching staff. I know they have a different quarterback this year, but it's the same coaching staff. And Mr. Matt Rule is a very smart coach. I love Matt Rule. He's going to be a winner in this league sooner than later. Trust me, you heard it here first. Well, maybe you heard it somewhere else, but this is the first time I'm saying it on the internet. But in the end, Arizona was 6th in the NFL with a 69% overall target percentage for their wide receivers. So pretty tight either way. Both these teams like to use their wideouts. In the end, I think Marshall's the play here because I'm a little worried about the competition with the Arizona wide receiver unit. But if injuries happen, all this is moot and goes totally out the window. But on draft day here, as we close in on the regular season, I'm taking Marshall over Rondale Moore, just barely. And finally, debate number 5. High five, more dead than alive. You know that one? This is the fifth and final debate here on the Triple Play Fantasy channel. Make sure you sub us and smash the like button. Super Smash Brothers that like button, if you will. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at MJGovier, G-O-V as in Victor, I-E-R. The final conundrum, debate. Two wide receivers that are deeper in the draft, but I like both these guys. The question is, do you like either of them? And will you find yourself deciding between the two at a certain point in your drafts? Of course, I'm thinking from a 12-team perspective too. So if I didn't mention that, this is basically a 12-teamer perspective. We're not going to go much deeper than the 12-team perspective today. So Marquez ValdesScantling of the Green Bay Packers. Doo-doot, ba-doo-doo-doo. Go, Pack, go. Ba-doo-doot, ba-doo-doo-doo. We are annoying. Hey. Yeah. As a Lions, not a fan really. I've just suffered the Lions for most of my life. I'm very familiar with that song. Marquez ValdesScantling had some nice efforts last year. But Gabe Davis of the Buffalo Bills, one of the best passing attacks in all of football. Very exciting. I love Gabe Davis. He came out of Central Florida, UCF, and last year he had 7 touchdowns. It was awesome. And there is a lot more to look forward to here. So when you're breaking down Gabe Davis of the Bills versus MVS of the Packers, who do you like better? I think Gabe Davis, although there is a lot of competition there with Emmanuel Sanders now being a part of the fold and Cole Beasley, whatever the hell's going on with him and his vaccination trash, whatever about that. In the end, Gabe Davis is just going to be a better receiver than Mr. Beasley, especially in the red zone. I know Beasley does the dirty work in between the tackles, running the short routes and taking the hits and picking up first downs. Gabe Davis, it will be a game changer for you. If you don't like Gabe Davis, then you're missing the boat here because he's got talent. Oh, yes. And, frankly, the Bills love to throw their wide receivers more than anybody else. If you don't believe me, the proof's in the pudding. 75% of their targets went to wideouts last year. It's not even close. They're number one in the NFL, the National Football League. Last year, Marquez ValdesScantling had 63 targets. Gabe Davis had 62. Wow, you talk about very, very close opportunities last year. I will tell you this, though. MVS over his 3 games only had 4 targets. So he was kind of on a roll there, and then he fell out of favor with Aaron Rodgers for maybe the reasons related to drops. MVS had an 11.1% drop percentage last year. Him and Mecole Hardman are 2 of the worst defenders in that category in the NFL in 2020, which sucks. Gabe Davis, though, as a red zone target, 7 out of 12. He caught 7 of the 12 targets that he had in the red zone. Marquez ValdesScantling was 2 out of 6 last year. I like those difference makers in the red zone. I think that really helps. In fact, I know it helps because that's where you score touchdowns. And PPR leagues, sure, we want receptions, especially if you get a point per reception. That's great. That's huge. But I think Gabe Davis can be the guy who's going to elevate his game. He's growing. He's getting better. He had the brief COVID thing going on here in the training camp period, but I'm not worried about that at all. That's over now. He's ready to rock. I like MVS too, but to me, Gabe Davis is the guy you want. In fact, he's one of my favorite there's no more sleepers. There's no under the radar because there's so much information these days. We're covering everything. Every damn player has detailed profile on them in the NFL today. Fantasy football is too big for that. But for me, Davis is one of my personal favorite dudes who's going to be a difference maker. A 2021 championship maker, if you will. That's right. I love it. And by the way, one other thing I will say about MVS in the situation with the Packers, Randall Cobb's getting a lot of hype because Aaron Rodgers is saying, he's really showing us something. I'm Aaron Rodgers, and I dominated the headlines all summer long. Don't buy that. The Cobb hype is just to get these other wide receivers motivated in their camp. Trust me, that's what's going on here. Randall Cobb has slowly declined over several years here. He's 31. He's nothing special anymore. I'm not buying this rebirth. He left the Packers or was let go of the Packers in the first place because he wasn't producing as much anymore, and he was injured a lot. Don't buy it. Don't believe the hype. That's all I'm saying. All right, there you have it. Those are my 5 debates, draft day debates for wide receivers. I actually experienced all of these personally. Tell me, what do you think of it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you finding yourself walking into the same conundrums on draft day? I'd love to hear from you. Drop all your comments here on the video. Make sure you sub the channel. Smash the like button. Super Smash Brothers, the like button. So thankful for you if you do that. Let me know what you think. You can DM me on Twitter, MJ Govier, G-O-V is in Victor IR. Of course, follow the Triple Play Fantasy handle on Twitter at TripPlayFantasy. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for your time, guys. Always a pleasure. Guys, gals, everybody in between, I got nothing but love for you. We'll catch you next time.